What's up, Friday fans? Nathan Barker here, your host of Camp Blood Radio. I am chilling here at my compound, and I have a very special guest with me tonight for our first ever clip on YouTube. Yeah, you've heard the audio clips with no background, just a boring logo where you can listen to the show that way. But guess what? Now we're going to start bringing you some real content to YouTube, and my good friend was passing through my neck of the woods today, and I thought, hey, what better time to do some real shit than right now? Sean Richards, the executive producer of the Friday the 13th Part 3 Memoriam documentary tribute to Richard Brooker. Now, Sean's been on the show in the past, like, 3-4 times? I don't know. But he's a friend of the show. He's a good friend of mine. We're here having some drinks.
Cheers.
Cheers. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to stop by my house and hang out, talk about some Friday. I appreciate you, my friend.
Friday, bro.
Yeah, we got a lot of Friday shit to talk about. I got my little list here. So like I said, those regular listeners out there, you'll know Sean if you've listened. If not, go the fuck back and listen to the episodes that he was on. If you haven't seen the Friday the 13th Part 3 documentary, it's free on YouTube. Free.
It is free. It's no cost.
Free. So you have no excuse not to watch it. So if you haven't watched it, then I don't think they're a real Friday friend. Nope. I'm going to say nope.
Oh, well, hey, no, I don't know. I don't know. I would think that, it's...
They're not a real Part 3 fan. How about that? You're not a real Part 3 fan if you haven't watched a free documentary on YouTube.
Yeah, it's really honing in if you really enjoy Part 3. I mean...
And where can you watch the documentary?
On the Friday the 13th network.
Yes. Which, Ben Diatley, shout out to the homie Ben Diatley. Very successful channel.
Ben!
Shout out to Ben. Absolutely, Ben's our guy. But yeah, we've got a lot of good shit to talk about. As you can see, we're having a lot of drinks here. And for the listeners, they know that we love our Keystone Light here at Camp Blood Radio. So we've got that going on too.
Little swivel of beer right there.
Yeah. Shout out to Keystone Light powering this YouTube episode. And those of you that have heard me talk about the unicorn beer, this upcoming raspberry lime, it's going to be in a can, from what I'm told. Sean and I were just at my local Stop and Rob, and I asked the clerk what the fuck's up with the unicorn beer, and he said hopefully by next Friday. Imagine that on a Friday.
I know, it's a unicorn-tastic, must be maybe a Jason unicorn with a little extra red in the rainbow there.
That could be. So, yeah. I don't know. So either way, it's good to have you here for the #1 YouTube non-audio event. So
well, it's great to be here.
We've got some Part 1 behind us, as you can see. That's me and Ari Lehman from the first Jason video shoot. Heed my warning. We've got some more Ari here. We've got some other random shit. I don't know what you can see. I actually gave Sean a gift. If you want to talk about that.
Yes, I would love to talk about that. This is wow. Like, I knew this man right here has some skill. I've heard him on the radio, and he really knows how to do that. But he's also a great wood craftsman, because check this out.
We can move this candle. Yeah. We'll slide that out of the way.
This hits home for me, doing the Friday the 13th Part 3 documentary for Richard.
Yeah.
And, hey, it's the little swinging sign, Hey, check it out,
Right.
So... I mean, and it's engraved. I mean,
hand carved.
Engraved and hand carved.
Hand carved. Let's get that right. All those letters are hand carved. It took me like 1,000,000 hours to do those because there's no room for mistakes on here. Because guess what? If you get to the inn in Haven and you fuck up, guess what? Burn pile.
Well, see, I'm still learning, about this wood craftsman right here by my side. Here, it's as far as engraving, hand carved. I don't know the nomenclature. I'm not seasoned yet, but I'm learning, we all are in life. So,
because we value our education here at Camp Blood Radio. So Sean is learning some things while he's here about woodworking skills and how he can create Higgins Haven signs, but I could see that didn't have much potential as far as that goes, so I said, you know what, I'm just going to give you one to take with you so you don't have to give yourself a headache and fuck up on the end, so it has to go to the goddamn burn pile out there.
Yep, hand carved.
Hand carved, that's right. So hit me up if you want one, or check out Death Curse Designs on Facebook or Instagram. They're approximately 8x10. Yeah, so they go perfect with your autographed Richard Brooker photos, or maybe a Dana Kimmel photo.
Yeah.
Maybe a Larry Zerner photo.
Hey, David Kadams was always one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat, Tommy Chong popping up in a
Chuck.
Chuck.
I love Chuck.
And actually that's a funny story because he shared with me, and that was behind the scenes, something we couldn't use from the documentary, was they wrote the script for part 3 for Chuck and Chili, him and his girlfriend, as a couple, Cheech and Chong. And David had shared that, of course he was the Chong character, and there was going to be this lovely Hispanic lady that was going to be the Cheech to his Chong counterpart. Right. And he had said that, he did a read with this lady, and he thought she was going to be the one, and then it turned out to be Rachel Howard, so,
Great choice, though, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
she fit the part. I'll give her that.
Yeah. But, no, it's... Oh, God. David. In between takes, that guy... And by the way, David is a fantastic person. He's a comedian and still does acting up... I think he's up in the northwestern United States.
I think he's in Washington. David was actually a past guest on the show several years ago. And I had no idea that he did comedy.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, what have you been doing for the last 30 years?
Yeah. No, he's a really good comedian. He is hilarious.
Yeah.
I went to one of his shows after I met him that day, back in the 25th anniversary for Friday the 13th out in, they had it at Hollywood and Highland, and talked to him, and, we were, shooting the shit, having a good time, and he's like, hey, why don't you come on up? I'm doing my comedy show tonight, and it was down at the, right down the road there from the gig, and, the guy is hilarious. He's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a funny guy. So either way, it would complement any of your Part 3 memorabilia, whatever it might be. So, like I said, doesn't take up too much wall space, approximately 8 by 10. So, so check that out. But Sean, that's a gift for him. So we're going to put that over there to get it out of the way. Enough shameless plugs. So
it's going on my wall, or it's going to be hanging in a really great spot.
Well, that's good. And actually, I can think of a good spot, actually. Speaking of the Part 3 documentary, this guy over here is the hockey mask that you see in the documentary. See that fantastic piece of work right there? This is hanging on the barn at the end credits, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was worn by Jason, who, if things could have been different at the end,
right?
Mm-hmm. Where else did we see this in the doc?
It's in all the interviews, besides all the interviewees for the documentary, and then oh wow, what's cracking?
It's all them cigarettes he's out there smoking earlier. So either way, this is behind a lot of people when they're getting interviewed. Tracy Savage, David Kadams, obviously, et cetera, et cetera. But this is the one. This is the one you see that's sitting there next to all of them, and we are here with it. And this is actually, I'll let Sean tell a little bit about it, but as soon as I seen it, I could tell it was fiberglass, super thick. Let's take it off here if we can.
Sure.
We'll slide this guy out of the way a little bit. Let Sean tell a little bit about its backstory. This thing's from 2003, and it has a ton of signatures behind it. And I'll give you a little pan of that just so you can kind of see what we're working with here. So we've got Ted White, Steve Dash, Betsy Palmer, C.J. Graham. We've got Richard Brooker, of course, Steve Miner, Larry Zerner in here. Of course, it's been worn, so we've got a couple of them that might have a few smudges in there. Sean likes to get items signed and then wear it. He told me he's not really a collector, so I'm like, what the fuck are you doing wearing it around? So you can kind of see, I don't know if you can tell on the angle, but that bad boy's pretty fucking thick. Pretty thick. So I asked Sean, hey, where did this come from? And this fucking thing is 17 years old, 2003, right?
Jesus, that's crazy. It seems like yesterday when I got that.
Yeah, so hockey horror mask, horror hockey mask. Yeah,
it was horrorhockeymask.com back in 2003, yeah.
Not to be confused with our guy Tim Schultz, who has a very similar website, but I actually sent him a picture of this earlier just to make sure that he didn't make it, because I wasn't really sure when Tim started making hockey masks, because I'm a bad friend. And Tim said that he started in 2007, so he did not make this, but for its time, this fucker was a beast. I mean, it's fucking serious. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, we use this hockey mask And back to what you were saying about collecting and this and that. I mean, this was the only hockey mask I had. I had one when we started making this documentary, and I had gotten it roughly, I don't know, 11 years before we started doing the project. And I had been out to I was out actually in California for my first trip out there for the Halloween 25th anniversary get together, and one of my favorite horror films. And I arranged a visit a few days after that event was over, because I stayed about a week, to the Valuze Motion Picture Ranch, where they shot part 3 with the barn and the cabin. And I had reached out to a guy, again, on the horror hockey mask at the time when, internet was up and coming. And
thanks to Al Gore for inventing the internet. Shout out to you, Al Gore. Anyways, sorry.
So
we like to give shout outs here on the show, so shout out to Al Gore. Maybe we're going to get him in a show shirt, because by the way, I am wearing one. I do own these myself, like I tell you people. Camp Blood Radio. Shout out to James Amaral / James Rodney /Graphics. But there's that beautiful shirt. So yes, I do shamelessly self-promote, and I thought what better time to wear one, since I knew Sean was going to be coming by the house, than to self-promote. Why not?
Absolutely. Why not?
Everybody else does it, so why shouldn't I?
You got to do it. You got to
Yeah,
say, hey,
absolutely.
look what I got here. It can be yours.
Yeah.
Right? So, so basically, I reached out to this guy, and actually back at that time, you're talking 17 years ago, growing up as a kid in the 80s, Halloween time, they had these really shitty, every kid wanted a, Jason mask, but you couldn't find them anywhere.
No, because most of them had the glow-in-the-dark one.
Yeah,
or
that's all
the
they
white
had.
one with 6 holes. And
that's all they had.
Mouth
An elastic
on
band on the
Yeah.
back. Yeah, it's crap.
I had one of those in 1989. I'm guilty.
Yeah,
So
that's what they had back in the day.
Yeah.
So I this guy started running this site, and he made masks that looked, pretty good compared to what was in the film. And I said, well, I'm going to go out to LA for my first time, and I'd like to, if you can make me your best part 3 mask, that's, I'd love to have one to take with me, because I'm visiting the site where they made the film in '82.
But little did he know what would happen later. How famous this mask would be. As
Yeah.
featured in the documentary. Now, whoever runs that website, which I don't even know who the fuck even ran that back in the day, what the guy's name is.
Yeah.
I don't think he's making masks nowadays. I'll have to reach out to some of the OGs, Tim Schultz, maybe James Power. James is still dabbling in fiberglass. Tim used to dabble in fiberglass, but
Yeah,
I don't know who ran that, but
it's thick.
he'd probably like to know. I would think he would like to know that that's in the part 3 doc, right? I mean,
Sure.
so,
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I just basically I went out there and visited the location, got photography, and just did it for my own fun. It was fun. It was kind of like being a kid when you go to a haunted house,
Sure.
and how trippy that is. Well, I was a little bit older than a kid at the time. I was early to mid 20s, and it was a trip to just be there. Because that movie scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, and so he made this great looking mask, and I took it with me, and I just did various shots with it, and I hung it on the barn door, and randomly on a high camera, just thought it was a great shot. I hung it on the barn door, and I filmed just it running, the camera running, with the cabin right there. Little did I know, 2 to 3 years later, the cabin would be gone and burned to the ground.
assholes.
Yeah.
No shout out to you arsonists.
So
Fuckers.
So
I don't
basically,
get a shout out, sorry.
no, it's
Justice was not served, but oh well.
Yeah.
But
So-
anyways, here's what I'll say as a mask collector, because sitting right here, and then Sean can finish up because I'm rude. So actually right above us we have many hockey masks on display. We've got Crash, Oz, Tim Schultz, several. But what I will say is I didn't collect in 2003 because I was out fornicating girls in college and trying to notch my belt. So I did watch Freddy vs. Jason at the theater in 2003.
Yeah.
But I was not collecting hockey masks at that time. I think I might have been collecting thongs. I think that's what I left on my floor. Yeah.
My collectorship is
So-
way down compared to you. You got some awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I have this. I have the mask that I used during Dick Ween's interview, the Roy, which I got just for that interview for the documentary.
Yeah.
And then I got
for 2003, this was dope as fuck right here. I mean, nowadays, if like somebody charged you $100 for this, you want to fucking shove it up their fucking pee hole. But in 2003, that was the shit right there.
You couldn't find anything.
Yeah, and so when Sean says that he doesn't have much of a collection, this is his only other collectible, which is the other guy. The other guy. Schmeichel. So he owns 2 masks in his entire collection. Sorry for the squeaking. Let's hope he doesn't fall over.
See, he's hurt now. He's leaning to the side. He's like, "What did you get?" Oh,
he's had too much. He's had too much of this, whatever this whiskey that this guy's been drinking. Yeah. So Sean owns 2 masks, and he owns a. Well, he does own a poster, but he doesn't own it anymore. And I'm not gonna say what that poster is, but now I own it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's the gift that keeps on giving, and I believe that you be a giving person in this life. That's what you do.
Hey, I've tried to help him out as much as I can,
yeah.
And he repays me by giving me a Friday the 13th poster. So I do appreciate that, though. It's the thought that counts.
Right, one I was hoping you didn't have in your collection.
And I do. I happen to own it. I'm not going to say what it is, but I already own it. But that's okay, though. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to serve its purpose. We'll put it that way. And I'm not going to say what purpose that is. Part of it's going to serve its purpose. We'll put it that way. How about that? Fair enough.
Surely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And something else we need to talk about, because we got all kinds of Friday shit to talk about, is you can probably see this little guy over here. And I actually received this as a gift from my beautiful, wonderful significant other. And you can probably see there. We've got Adrian King's wine, and this one happens to be, and I'm not a wine drinker. I love Mad Dog 2020. I'll fuck that shit up. Some bling bling raspberry. Holy shit.
Mad Dog.
That was my jam in the early 2000s when I was out notching the belt. So we love to talk about early 2000s fornicating, and that was his time. He probably has some stories like we've told. But, he's thinking the wheels are turning, That was the time of free love, I'm telling you.
It was 69 all over again. 1969 revamped.
Awkward doctor visits all over the place. I mean, not fun for anybody. But here, this was my favorite bottle. I got all 6 of them. And the Crystal Lake Midnight Merlot. So you can see, maybe you can't see, I don't know, but she signed it across the top. We got the 31320 on it. Adrian King XOXO. I have not opened it yet. And actually, before we started this little episode, if you will, I kind of got a scolding, because it's like she saw us and she's like, "Oh, you didn't open that bottle of wine, did you?" "Oh no, this is like it's a prop right now." So, but it's gonna get open very soon. But we had to give a shout out to Adrian, of course.
Yeah,
Adrian was on the documentary, so we have to give her a shout out. And I'm looking forward to tasting that wine on top of the other 5 bottles.
Well,
so
this wine here. Yeah, I mean, first of all,
it has the dopest label out of all of them,
yeah.
Except for the one where Adrian's like tiptoeing out of the cabin. I don't remember what that one's called, but
that's pretty great too.
Yeah, that's the baddest ass one.
I saw the collection that Nate had here, and this one just struck me. Like, that's beautiful. That is a beautiful bottle. Hi, Adrian. Hope you're doing well. That just looks fantastic. And Midnight Merlot, I really want to try this right now. I do like the red wine. I'm a red wine guy. As far as the other wines, I'm pretty picky about that. But good reds, bring it on. Dad schooled me. I went to the Rick Merlot School of Winery.
Well, here's what I will say is, since I do love me some MD 2020, I'm going to try this wine. I'm going to. And if I dislike it, I'm going to drink it anyway, because I'm not going to be one of those guys that lets alcohol go to waste. And I will fucking drink it. But the bottle will always be on display. But if I don't care for it, then maybe I'll just pour some Mad Dog into it, and then I'll repurpose the bottle.
Oh my God.
I'll put some Banana Red in there, because that's red. It's Friday related. I mean, come on. You know what? Here's what's fucking funny. So, like, a few episodes on the show, like I said, because we've never done anything live like this. I was talking about Mad Dog because I hadn't fucking seen Mad Dog in like fucking since 2003 or 4.
I didn't even know they still make it. Do they still make it?
The liquor store that we were just at,
Yeah.
they had 2 bottles in there. Yeah,
Are they from like 2002?
Yes, they were stamped. They were antiques. They were considered antiques. So
you can't buy them?
No, it's a display only because it's yeah. There's a college up on right by this stop and rob, if you will. So they're relics. I think you'd call them a relic.
Yeah, well that makes sense because I haven't heard of them in a long time.
Yeah, so I hadn't found Mad Dog literally since like 2003 or 4. And like a couple months ago, I think it was, maybe a month ago, I don't know. I drink a lot. So anyways, I found some and I was like a kid at Christmas. Mm-hmm. It was like in 1985 when I got my first Nintendo. That's what it was like when I seen the Mad Dog on the shelf. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, I gotta have all of them.
I think I still have mine. I got mine 2 or 3 years after that, 87, 88, and I still have it. Put brand new teeth into it, it runs like brand new.
Yeah. Yep, brand new teeth. That's the key to running like new. Just depends on who you are, though. I mean, teeth can be bad. If you've heard us talking our filthy talk lately, which he hasn't because he's been Mr. Traveler lately, so he's kind of been out of the loop as far as Camp Blood Radio goes. But I filled him in on our potty mouth talk. I did. So he's interested, but we gotta break him in easy with all the wiener talk and all that kind of other fun stuff. All of our Nickies. Shout out to Nikki Six. Shout out to my favorite, Nikki Benz. Of course, Nikki Glazer. And everybody else whose name's Nikki, because we just love all the Nickies. Who's a Nikki that you love? Probably Nikki Cox. You look like a Nikki Cox fan. From the late 90s, early 2000s, that redheaded girl with the big old fake boobs.
Well, actually, from part 6,
Nikki, just in general.
Nikki kind of suited my fancy.
No, they have to really be named. Well, Nikki Benz's real name isn't Nikki, but we're going to pretend like it is. So, like if they go by Nikki in real life, not their character in a movie. Like, just think of someone named Nikki. So, Nikki Cox. We're going to talk about Nikki Cox later, me and the drunk uncle. So,
I don't know any Nickies.
Seemed like it'd be your jam.
I don't know any Nickies, but my sister is named Nicole.
Ooh. How old is she? What does she look like?
Yeah.
Sorry. I apologize.
Well, actually, my sister Nicole, happy to say, she just got married this last October to a great guy named Jason. No bullshit.
He did tell me that earlier. That's not a lie.
My brother-in-law is Jason.
That's what he said. And I believe him. So
how perfect is that? How perfect is that? Oh my God.
A fun fact about today is when Sean pulled up in front of my compound here, Sean's moving across the country. So he's like a nomad right now. Mm-hmm. I guess you would call that like a gypsy.
Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, that's funny you say that because my neighbor in outside of Vegas, he has a 1957 or 56 Nomad, and it's a really classic ride. Okay. I don't even know what the hell a Nomad was, so I was a neighbor of his.
Like a drifter. So Sean has been living in LA for a while, and he's been in Vegas for how long? Year and a half?
2 years.
2 years. Mm-hmm. Been in Vegas for 2 years, and he was tired of all you fuck faces out in Vegas, you fucking clowns. People only go there to fucking gamble. Like, you don't live there. That's a place that you go to party and forget about shit. You don't live there. That's what I'm going to say about Vegas. That am I right?
There's
close enough.
There's definitely a degree of truth there.
Yeah. So,
sure.
Which is fine. I mean, to each their own. So Sean got tired of the shenanigans in Vegas, and he decided he's going to move across the country. So, like I said, during his travels, he thought, why not visit his good friend, myself, and we'll hang out. So here we are. So anyways, as he pulled up in front of my compound, he had the Jeep. His Jeep, which has been seen in
Never Hike in the Snow.
And the Disappear music video?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Am I allowed to say that about Never Hike in the Snow?
Oh. Whoops. There's vehicles and Never Hike in the Snow.
I think there's already pictures out with the Jeep, and that wasn't one of the taboo things. So, actually, it was also in the Disappear music video. Shot by Womp Stomp and Vin DeSanti. And,
shout out to Vince DeSanti, friend of the show, of course. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's like privileged information. There's vehicles, which we're going to talk about another vehicle that's seen in Never Hike in the Snow.
I mean, there's a number of connections, with Ben and I and shooting this film. So and there was pictures of the Jeep. My I share pictures of my Jeep all the time, so it's not any kind of private info. But
well, I will say this, that Sean and I have like 600 mutual friends on Facebook, probably.
do we?
I don't know. I can look.
I don't know.
Over 500, I'm sure. Like probably around 600, maybe even more than that. So chances are, if you're friends with me on social media or Facebook, you've probably seen Sean tagged in something with me or vice versa or whatever. You've probably seen the green Jeep, which is the exact same Jeep. Well, not the same screen used Jeep, but the same Jeep model that you see in Friday the 13th Part 1. It's just a different color. But either way, Sean's Jeep, like I said, Disappear music video, which had I don't know how many thousands of views on YouTube, but just go to YouTube, Disappear, Womp Stomp Films. Renee Rivas was involved with that. You were there for that shoot, obviously. No, he wasn't there. They just took his vehicle and said, "You go wait over there."
Fuck off. Give me your Jeep.
Give me your vehicle.
No, actually, it's funny because being from a Jeep family, my grandpa had a =46 Blue Willys. And I remember that from when I was like 3 or 4 years old.
Okay.
He used to plow the field in Indiana with that. And then when I was like 2 years old, 3, my Uncle Jack had a maroon '79 CJ7.
Like 40 years ago.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Wow.
we talked about that earlier on the way to the liquor store, how it sucks when you like get near 40 like me, or you're...
It's not necessary. Being
Over 40.
Yeah. Even 30s. It's like, no, I'm good. Anyway. So yeah, there's like literally a picture. Uncle Jack is holding me on his driver's side fender of his '79 maroon CJ7, and my stepdad had a '77 CJ7. So yeah, I'm definitely, because of that and just the look of them, I'm a CJ guy. So it took me a while to find the one that really fit me well.
He's a CJ guy. I'm a BJ guy. Just a little Jeep humor there.
That's next year's model, the BJ5.
Yeah, the BJ5. Yeah. And that's what you have on a good night when you're in college in the early 2000s. You have a BJ ×5, right?
Oh wow! That's the greatest Jeep right there.
Yeah. Shout out to the drunk uncle on that one. Yeah. He knows what I'm talking about there. Yeah.
So yeah, it's I moved out west about 6.5 years ago, and just so happened it lined up that there was one for sale that was the look I was looking for, and even though I'm pretty versed in Jeeps, being from that family, I really never knew what year the one in Part 1 was, because it's so obscure and rare looking with all its things about it that are peculiar from one year to the next, and that's because it's a transitionary year at the late 60s, early 70s with the Kaiser AMC.
What I will say for those that don't know, the muscle car era, if you will, back in the late 60s, early 70s. So what would happen would, like I said, there's probably a lot of you that are aware, but if not, so what they would do is they would use leftover parts, and then it might be like a 69 model part, but on a 70 or whatever. So you'd have like a ragtag combination sometimes. Chevy did that a little bit here and there, but more so like the AMCs,
Right.
Buick,
Yeah.
the Oldsmobiles, trying to think of some of the AMXs. What the hell else was notorious for that? I'm probably not thinking of a couple, but anyways, it wasn't uncommon to have other year parts on the next model year. And essentially what Sean's referring to is that same situation, that there was like a ragtag of products. So if you've seen it on screen, you might be like, wait a minute, I thought it was that, but it really wasn't that model year. So.
Right. Yeah, like literally the Jeep I have right now, it's just a 1971. 2 years before it looked, there was differences with the turn signal lights up in front, and on the back it would say Willys, and mine says Jeep, and that's because it wasn't a Willys anymore, it was Kaiser Willys, and then Willys dropped off and it was just Kaiser Jeep for a few years, and then they sold it to AMC. So it was a real transitionary period, it's I just like the look, and even a year after the one I have, it changed again. The body stamping on the side looks differently. It's just, but this one just popped up when I was looking for an old Jeep at this point in my life, and it was meant to be.
The perfect storm.
Yeah.
And it's been in all these wonderful Friday fan film projects. It probably will be in something else. You know,
Yeah.
who knows in the near future.
I mean, literally, with all the Jeep stuff I know, being from a Jeep family, I only got confirmation like 3 or 4 months ago that the year that I bought, and I bought this Jeep about 4 or 5 years ago, is the same year as the Friday One Jeep. I didn't know. I didn't know if it was a 72. I didn't know if it was a 70. It's there's so many different things about those years when it was going into the AMC merger from Kaiser. So
Yeah, so we had it running outside earlier. We had to feed her a little rocket fuel. She's been through Denver and the cold of the Midwest because it was 80 in the Midwest 3 days ago, and now it's 31. So she needed a little pat on the ass, if you will.
Great time to do a cross country venture right there.
So she fired right up, and we had her sitting out there on the car, the car holler, just going to town. Sounded great, looked great. I took a picture. I'll post it later. Hey, the Jeep from Disappear or whatever the hell I'll say. I don't know. I'll figure it out later.
The Jarvis Jeep.
The Jarvis Jeep, yes. We can talk about that in a second, too. So, yeah. You've worked a little bit on Never Hike Alone, kind of the jack of all trades. Never Hike Alone, over 1 million views. Most of you clowns that are watching this, you've already fucking seen it. So you've probably seen Sean Richards in the credits, but if you didn't, just a brief touch on jack of all trades. So...
I'd met Vince at a screening for Part 3, and we were, he was handing out. He was in the Never Hike Alone Ghost Jason getup, and I was just there, handing out promo cards for the documentary. We met, and he ended up helping out with the documentary, and I wanted to help out with his project, and basically it's whatever he needed behind the scenes. All that was left to be filmed at that point when we had met was the final sequence, the fight sequence between Kyle and Jason, and that was up in Big Bear in I think it was early April or late March of 2017. Anyway,
sounds right.
Yeah, it might even have been early to mid-April, but they had thought that the snow was done at that point, in the year, and it wasn't. And so basically we're filming up there, and not even a week before we started filming up there, I had gotten through a fever. I hadn't had a fever in like 10.
He's the one that brought the Chinese flu.
Right.
You're going to probably die now because he's the one that brought it to America.
You were welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
But
the Chinese clap going on here. Yeah. That was a little joke, though. Not that we like to clown a pandemic by any means, because I certainly don't.
You got to have fun with this, because it's serious. It's called gallows humor. Being a firefighter, and other things like that. Former firefighter. I mean, you gotta have fun with life, even the most serious situations, or it's just devastating.
Well,
that's what gallows humor is. So.
We're kind of guilty of not practicing social distancing. Sorry, we're not. We should be 6 feet apart, but
dude.
We're spreading the Chinese clap.
We're literally
we just shook hands. Yeah, we cheersed our drinks.
Yeah, we're literally the living virus right here on video between two people. We're just we're advertising the thing we're not supposed to be doing.
The opposite of what my president, and still your president, by the way, has said to do, and that's stay 6 feet apart during this shut-in toilet paper hoarding apocalypse. Yeah. We just went to the liquor store and we bought all of the Keystone Lights that they had and all the Guinness. And I mean, can't even get into where the beer fridge is right now because there's so much booze in there. Because guess what? It's became like a game.
Yeah.
How many rolls of toilet paper? How many frozen pizzas? How many cans of beer can we get in there?
I don't get the toilet paper thing.
It's like a game. Like, you used to collect stamps, or maybe you collected, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just collected baseball cards. Well, now let's collect toilet paper.
I don't know. I
don't get it.
They're stamps. They're just big, like, flimsy stamps.
So, right, exactly. So, so we're not practicing proper health standards, but that's okay. I guess if one of us dies in 14 days, you'll know why. Either I gave it to you or you gave it to me.
It was all in service to the first live video episode right here.
Absolutely.
So,
yes.
As far as the Never Hike Alone shoot, it was really great, and it was up there. It It was supposed to be for the final fight sequence. Of course, it's supposed to be in the summertime. You know, if you've seen the Never Hike Alone film. And
nope, never heard of it. Never heard of it. Nope.
What is this? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, so actually what happened that night was they had a surprise snowfall come in, and literally it got down to 20-some degrees. It was bone-chilling cold. I could feel it going to my core. I felt like I was getting sick again, and I just got over this really bad fever. And the and my job was to literally that night when they were doing the fight sequence, there's huge light up here, shooting, lighting up the whole scene. The wind started coming in, the snow started coming in, and the snow just fell outside of frame. And the wind started doing this to the light. So my job was to jump onto the light pole and grab it if the light starts to go. So I'm literally just manning the light right there to make sure that that doesn't happen.
And everybody else is over the fire,
right?
Trying to keep warm at Camp Crystal Lake, right?
I think we were all pretty damn cold up there because there was no warmth. It was an abandoned camp. I mean, I think the only warmth you had on that set was
whiskey
at the top of that light pole, and whiskey.
Yes,
and whiskey.
Absolutely. No, I heard it was a bitch. I did. I talked to Sean, of course, and talked to Vince numerous times. Talked to Renee, of course, and I heard it was not very pleasant. So, shout out to those who were freezing their dicks off,
suffer for your art,
and suffering, so you could have 1 million views.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what the viewership's even up to now. It's
a lot.
I haven't even checked.
It's a lot of numbers. It's really high.
Yeah. I should have checked, actually, but I didn't really think much about it. But yeah, the essential workers, if you will, that's how you get films like Never Hike Alone. People that sacrifice their health to give you Never Hike Alone, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you. I saw that, when I met Vince, he talked about our projects, he shared the trailers, and I was sold when I saw the trailers.
Of course.
I'd love to help out on this. And, but that, I literally felt like I was going back down Fever Alley that night. It was not good, and had to warm up a lot in the car between takes. And
it's not all fun and games, people. What you see on screen, blood, sweat, tears, hypothermia, shriveled wieners, raisin sack. I mean, you're not going to be very adequate when you're freezing your shit off out there. So,
and I was in the lake too for the disappear shoot. I was there to catch Renee if he stepped on a rock and started to go south. So that was, but that was nice. That was lovely compared to
so
the snow.
Right.
Never Hike Alone. Thing that's. Whew.
You sacrificed yourself because you could have drowned. I mean, let's just go on the record. We're talking about facts here. You can drown in a tablespoon of water, so technically you could have drowned.
I could have. I guess. I don't know. I just wanted to be a part of it. I think it's I think what he does is great stuff, and that's what it's all about. When you want to work in film,
Absolutely.
Great people, great projects. That's it's not any more difficult than that, and that's really all it is.
Yeah. So, of course, the Jeep was in Disappear. He was behind the scenes doing his thing in Disappear. Jack of all trades again, I guess you could call it that. Never Hike in the Snow. We can't talk a whole lot about that because obviously there's things that are being released. We just had the first movie poster released a few days ago. Awesome. Great poster. Vince is awesome with the design work. From what I understand, he does all that himself. Maybe there's a couple other people involved, but I think for the most part he does a lot of design himself, right? Or graphic design stuff.
I don't know about that.
But either way, the first poster, it's badass. It's all over social media right now. And of course you were there for I don't know, were you there for all of the Never Hike in the Snow shoot? Or just the last weekend?
Well, from what I know of the Never Hike in the Snow shoot, I mean, it was broken up into two pieces as far as what I know.
So basically you were on the second leg.
I was in the first leg. Renee was in the second leg.
Okay. Gotcha.
We did up in Big Bear,
which was where Never Hike Alone was. So now we got Never Hike. Well, I shouldn't say Never Hike Alone 2, but we've got the second installment also in Big Bear, right?
Yeah, and then the second leg was actually shot over in Flagstaff at the abandoned camp, from what I understand. So,
gotcha. We really can only touch a little bit on that because, like I said, there's still things that are in the works with that. But Vince DeSanti, I actually talked to him a couple days ago. He's actually going to be on the show. I don't know if it's going to be next week or the week after, but he's going to come on. He's going to give a whole bunch of details, and we'll just look forward, I guess, to when he pops on to kind of fill us in on all that. So we'll keep it brief with Sean. Sean did have a chance to work with Tom Matthews, Vinny Guastafaro directly. How was that experience? I mean, considering never hike in the snow, there was snowfall, so you got what, 4 to 6 inches that weekend?
I don't know on the depth of the snow. I know we at least got a few inches, maybe 2 to 3, maybe 4. I don't know. But I know that the timing couldn't have been better for the weather that was up there that weekend. We rolled in on, I think it was a Friday. And that Saturday morning, like practically on cue, it started to fall.
Oh, nice.
And that's when they did they did the shooting Saturday and Sunday. And a lot of the stuff went into the night on Saturday. It was freezing.
That's just your luck. You're just there when it's below freezing temperatures.
Yeah, like I thought I had waterproof boots and they weren't, so my feet were cold and frozen and getting, it was something else. But yeah, no, it was great. It was perfect for the weather. I met Tom and Vinny once before at I think it was a horror hunt in Indianapolis in 2010, but I met them as a fan of the Part 6 from when I was a kid, and then to be working with them roughly almost exactly 10 years later on a film project was just fantastic. Tom's a really good guy, and he's I think he's big dog guy too. He shares about dogs and adopting and doing good things with dog. I'm a dog guy too, and it's great to see that. He actually just shared a really funny video. I had to share on my page. It was hilarious, and he hasn't even seen it yet. So I have
not, but I'm going to check it out. But I know that he's an advocate. So
and then Vinny too, just awesome person, and we talked a few times on set, and warming up in the RV actually. I think he was getting ready for a scene. And
was he a whiskey drinker?
I don't know.
He seems like he could be, though. I mean, maybe he is. We'll have to find that out.
Yeah, party time's up and coming. It's it was really great to talk with him and actually get to connect with these guys on a personal level. Vinny and I we talked a little bit about my dad who just passed this past August, and it was a really great talk. And he's these two guys are
good people,
top notch.
Yeah, I've heard that numerous times.
Yeah,
they are good people.
That's the thing too. Is working in I was out in LA for about 3.5 years and working in film and TV productions, and you meet all kinds of people that that are household names, and it's really nice and it's something special when you can meet somebody that you really have always admired their work, and you discover that they're a really good person, and that means everything. It really does. It really does.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of meeting Tom. I think it was 2014 maybe, I'm not sure. I met him at a Days of the Dead show. I think it was Chicago, maybe 2014, something like that. Wasn't a lot of people around, super nice guy. I wasn't involved in any of the projects that I am now, so it was just kind of a casual, interaction as far as that goes. But super down-to-earth guy. My favorite, Tommy Jarvis, also. And as far as Never Hike in the Snow, I understand that one of the vehicles that we see, we talk about vehicles, but I understand that one of the vehicles that we may or may not see, let's just put it that way, you may or may not see it. How about that? It was used in the current TV show deputy. Can you confirm that you may or may not see that?
I can confirm that you may or may not see that.
Yeah. So you may or may not see a vehicle that's involved in deputy and never hike in the snow. We can't say anything. Can't say anything else though.
I can just say that vehicle is just so much fun.
Well, like
Love it.
I mean, I love the show. I do. I fucking love that show. Deputy is fucking top notch. I love it.
Well, yeah, it's a bitchin' '79 Ford Bronco. Like it's.
Well, it may or may not be.
But no, I'm talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about never on this. I'm talking about the show.
Oh, the show. Yes, the show may or may not be a bitchin' '79 Bronco.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I like the style of that vehicle, and I'm not even really a big Ford guy. But that one, that one, it's got a look. It's boss.
But you may or may not see a vehicle like that and never hike in the snow.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
You may or may not.
You may or may not see it. So,
well, and also too,
is it may or may not black and white in Never Hike in the Snow?
It may or may not have color grading. It could be purple and pink.
It could be purple. Okay, all right. So just like in Halloween 2018, how the squad cars are blue and white, it may or may not be. You never know. That's Hollywood movie magic, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Or independent film movie magic, right?
It is color charisma. Absolutely. Oh well. Speaking of, this Never Hike in the Snow. This thing is Jason in this. It may or may not be.
May or may not be in the snow.
He may or may not be in the snow.
But he just confirmed that there was snowfall. But there may or may not be because of movie magic, is what he's saying.
Well, it could have melted too before we shot.
It could have, yes.
It could have been just turned into rain.
Yep. It could have rained.
Never hike in the rain.
Or it could be never hike on the ice. Because it could have melted and then turned into ice, right? And then you never know.
Well,
may or may not be all of those things. It could be a combination of
and vehicles may or may not even run in this. So
they may or may not run. That's true. The altitude of these vehicles that are carbureted may or may not be affected by altitude. I don't know.
There may or may not be vehicles with engine noises that are made by the mouth.
May or may not be. Speaking of noises that are made by the mouth, I understand that you, Sean, I'll give you a minute. Maybe you should have a sip of your beer and we'll talk about it. Yeah. That's beer, not coffee, by the way. So I understand.
It's
Boffy, yes. I understand that you may or may not have a role in Never Hike in the Snow as the voice of a dispatcher. Or you may or may not.
I may or may not.
And the dispatcher's name is, may or may not be.
Yeah, it may or may not be Deputy Allen. Dispatch Deputy Allen.
Yeah. That's all we can say about that, though, because it's not been confirmed. It's just may or may not, right? So you may or may not hear this voice right here in Never Hike in the Snow.
Right. Yeah, and do you want me to tell you the story behind the name? I came up with the name or not?
I mean, that's up to you because it's may or may not. It might have happened. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll share that at a future date.
Yeah.
But you know the story.
Yeah, I know the story, and it's a very interesting story, very personal story. Well, it may or may not be an interesting personal story. That's all we'll say. So we can talk about that later. Let's see. Actually, fun fact, Sean and I were associate producers on Spirit of Haddonfield.
It's the Spirit of Haddonfield.
Yes. And that is not may or may not. That is a fact. So go to YouTube. You can watch it for free. All these free things on YouTube. I mean, seriously.
It's free fun.
It's free fun, absolutely. If you're a Halloween fan, if you like Schmeichel Myers, who we had out here a second ago, go to YouTube, Spirit of Haddonfield, Sean and I, like I said, if you watch the film, you're going to see when the black screen's rolling, you're going to see where it says Associate Producers, and what does it say? Stacked right here, side by side, or right on top of each other.
Says Nathaniel Baca.
Yes, it does.
And Shonovan Richards.
It does. That is a fact. That is not may or may not. That is a fact.
That is a fact.
It's absolutely a fact. Renee Rivas Productions, Vincent DeSanti was in that film. Renee was also a past guest on Camp Blood Radio a couple years back. Renee was involved in Never Hike Alone, I'm sorry. And also Never Hike in the Snow, Second Leg.
Yeah.
That was shot in Flagstaff. So, yeah, Renee, Sean, Vince, it's kind of been like a circle jerk, if you will. I mean, without a pivot man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
kind of weird.
It's like, jerk your own circle, right?
Yeah, so like jerking yourself in the circle without a pivot man, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, you got to learn sometime, right?
That's all you guys. I'm not going to mention any other names because I don't want to call people out. I mean, I could, but I'm not a dick like that. I am, but I'm not going to be right now. So stay tuned for that if you want to hear more about the tripod or the circle beat-off squad or whatever the fuck they want to be called. So yes, shout out to Renee Rivas Productions. Check them out on Facebook. Check them out on Instagram. Maybe you're a mutual friend on Facebook. They could be. I don't know. I don't know who's going to listen. Or I'm sorry, who's going to watch. So anyways, executive producer of the Part 3 Memoriam documentary. That's, once again, for free on YouTube.
It is. It's a fact.
So you have no excuse not to watch it. If you don't, you're not a true Part 3 fan. We're not going to say that you're not a true Friday the 13th fan because that's a little overboard because you got these clowns who think that Jason X is the best Friday film. Or
Jason Sex?
Right.
Is that really, what are you talking Jason X? What are you talking about?
Is that porno with our Nikki Benz that's recent? I think that...
I heard he puts on a chrome mask and a strap-on.
Yes. And just
and he goes,
and just humps everything inside, yeah. Yeah,
that's what I heard. I mean, that's what I heard.
Yeah, so for those who think Jason X is their favorite Friday, or Jason Goes to Hell, or Jason Takes a Boat Ride, or fucking whatever, we don't expect you to jump on board with the free documentary. But Sean worked his fucking ass off to provide you a quality piece on one of my favorite Friday films, which is Part 3, and of course Part 6. Sean's been on the show in the past, and we've talked about a lot of shit as far as that goes. So we're going to keep it very brief, and then we're going to wrap this bitch up. So as far as we've talked about the Part 3 mask, so we don't have to worry about that.
There is one more thing I could tell you about that mask, though.
Do I care?
You might.
No, go ahead.
So we've kind of been talking about Never Hike in the Snow, right? A little bit. That may or may not exist.
We may or may not have been talking about it, so that's debatable.
It could be Roy in the Rain.
Could be.
But yeah, this mask, used in the interviews, and also at the end there, because I got the height, I can do the part, whatever.
Yeah.
I did play Jason for a hot second at the end of the Part 3 documentary when Jason is dragging the girl through the snow wearing this mask. That was me. So, yeah.
Fun facts.
Yes,
absolutely.
I mean, it's who doesn't want to be, as a kid wearing this Halloween costume? I mean, who doesn't want to be Jason on the big screen?
Absolutely.
And Dad was 5'11", Mom was 5'7", I'm 6'3". I mean, it was meant to be.
Yes, absolutely.
Dad said it was the mailman, so there you go.
Hey, there you go. So 110K on the views, 110,000 so far. I think they did a great job with it. Like I said, not because I favor Part 3. I love hearing about shit that I already might have known about, but I like to hear about it again. Some of it I didn't know. Some of the interviews with Richard's close people, I thought those are fantastic. Those are not something you're going to find anywhere else, whether it be over Skype or FaceTime or whatever is going on at that point in time.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've talked about this on past episodes of the show, so it's really nothing new, but just some highlights for me. I loved Adrian King. Like I said, we did mention Adrian. We love you. Well, I don't know if I love your wine yet because I haven't drank it, but
I already know what the label on there. I already love it.
You can't beat the label.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, just a couple of things we'll talk about because I did take some questions from some people to kind of highlight the episode here, and one of them was, what's up with Nick Savage? I know you talked about this before, but he's still technically MIA.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that a little bit, how you reached out and tried to get him a spot.
Yeah, I tried to track down Nick. I actually met him in 2005. They had a 25th anniversary get-together for Friday the 13th Part 1. And it was all these people from Parts 1 through 9 in this building at Hollywood and Highland in Hollywood.
Okay.
And Nick was there, and really great guy, really personable, and I had the hockey mask with me at the time, and got a picture with him, and then I brought out the hockey mask. He's like, "Oh man, get that away, man, get it away." I was like, I still have nightmares about that hockey mask, and Jason to this day, and that was like 23 years later at the time. So he was a really great guy, and I tried to track down where he was, and the best I could come up with, because he was, even when people knew where he was a very private guy. He to get a hold of him by phone was almost unheard of. He had a couple email addresses that I tried that I think were old, and nothing came back. And then as the project went along, there was a couple of his friends and I think family members, or they had reached out, and they were curious if I had heard from Nick, and and this was back in 14, 15, 16. So he'd been missing 10 years at that time, and he was a really great actor too in the 80s. I think he's in a few Eddie Murphy movies as a buddy, and
he was a bouncer in I'm trying to think of what the fuck that was. He was a bouncer in something in the 80s. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had other notable roles, if you want to call it that.
No, he was a great actor and a really good guy, and it makes me sad to hear that he's literally nobody knows.
Yeah.
Like he was a private guy to begin with, but to be completely just to go from that to nobody knows anything. They don't know if he's dead. They don't know if he's alive. They don't know, and that sucks to hear that. But yeah, I would have totally have. I would have loved to have been able to find him and make sure he's okay and have him be a part of this. I think he would have had some fun stories, especially since that still gave him nightmares 20 plus years later. I mean,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, it would have been something else to have Nick part of the project.
Yep, he would have been a great addition, and there's been a lot of other questions as far as, why, and we're not going to address all those, but the ones that you're aware of, why not Catherine Parks, why not Dana Kimmel, why not Chili, why not so-and-so, and the list just goes on. And I guess the easiest way for you to address those, and I guess I'll kind of address it for you, is they were reached out to, and many of them just didn't respond back. There was discussions with them, correct? Whether it be you or a third party,
right?
But you could confirm discussion with the third party, but they just did not reach out back to show any interest, and obviously you're not going to bother them over it, so it was just kind of left alone.
Yeah.
Dana Kimmel was one of those. I think we can go ahead and mention that she just didn't confirm back.
Yeah.
So obviously there was no interest there.
I mean, I understand. I mean, it's from a certain perspective, I was my first project, as a filmmaker, and it's, you don't know what I'm going to do with this project. You don't know how good it's going to be. You don't know if it's going to get finished. All those questions, I get it from her perspective, or anybody else that we reached out to and maybe didn't get back to us. Somebody that was in the documentary reached out to Dana and shared what I was doing, and she said, well, if I'm interested, I'll reach out to Sean. If I'm not, I'll reach out to you. And I didn't hear anything back from, neither one of us heard anything back from Dana.
It's kind of like, the way that I can relate it to, and I'm sure you can too, is when girls tell you, yeah, I'll call you, and then they don't call you.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that could be for, I don't know, maybe one reason. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Could be for a multitude of reasons. I don't know. But I'm going to relate that back to, I'll call you.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
I mean, there was, also too, we had, I talked to Melanie Kim, who was in part 5, who was a friend of Richard's, and she was interested to do it, and then it was just a scheduling thing, and we just couldn't get it figured out. And then, so it just is what it is. I mean, we couldn't get contact info for Catherine Parks with everybody we had in the doc, and
people will say, hey, that's ludicrous, but guess what? Sometimes people live a private life that you're not going to get a hold of them. Nick Savage, for example.
Right.
Who knows where the fuck the guy is? He could be dead. I hope he's not, but hypothetically, he could be dead somewhere, or who knows? So people, if you don't want to be found and you're not on social media, well, for example, Paul Kratka, he's not inaccessible, but he lives in a foreign country, so you can't just holler at him because he's on like a 7-hour different time zone.
Yeah,
you can talk to him maybe through Messenger or text message, but he's not just like easily accessible. So you don't know what people have done. They might have been in a film 30 plus years ago, but who knows what they've been doing now.
Right. Paul Kratka is he's an enigma wrapped in a riddle. That guy is something else. He's went on to become a chiropractor, and he's from I think Huntington Beach, California, and
I think so, yeah.
Lifelong surfer and the healthiest guy I've ever met in my life. Like
the most fit guy in like his 60s that you've ever seen.
Yeah, he's like got the waist that big. I mean, he's a fit dude. He's and he's out living in a
South Pacific somewhere, right?
He's living in the.
He told me, but I can't remember the name of the country that or wherever the fuck that he's at. I can't even pronounce it. So
he's in an island in the middle of the ocean, surfing his ass off,
doing the damn thing. So, all right, we're gonna touch on one more thing, and then we're gonna wrap this up because we got beers to drink, we got whiskey to drink, and I'm tired of sitting here. So we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
So one thing that we talked about on
one thing.
Yeah.
There was somebody else that I definitely reached out to and I talked to on the phone that I would have loved to have had been part of this project was Gloria Charles. And I was able to get, through working and hustling and trying to meet people, I got a hold of her phone number, a contact, and I called her, and I pitched the idea on the project. She said she was very interested and she'd love to do it. But she has my number. I'll give you a call back. She had to go into a medical appointment, and then I just didn't hear back from her for months. And I just thought, well, that was just a nice way to say I'm not interested.
And then unfortunately,
and then I found out. Yeah, then I found out literally a month after that phone call, she passed away. So she was really dealing with something, and it's just sad that I think there was actually a video that she did with touring the Part 3 filming locale, and she just had a real vibrance about her, a real positive, just a real pleasant, way about her, and would have loved to have had her.
Like I said, we're gonna wrap this up. I'm sure you're bored of us anyway, even though we could sit here all fucking day and talk about wieners and Friday the 13th and
Friday wieners, yeah. And early 2000s fornicating and Nikki Benz and Nikki Glazer and Nikki Sixx, and for all you loyal listeners out there, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. So to wrap this up, if you could touch real quick on, I know that we discussed this before, but it's been a while, so let's just revive it a little bit. The ending that we see in the documentary, I know that you had an alternate ending essentially planned out. So if you could go back and redo it again, what would it be? Yeah,
like he mentioned being Jason at the end and so on and so forth.
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
Right.
Not wrapping up with interviewees, etc., but the very end sequence.
It's kind of funny because now that you put it that way, it's kind of a parallel to Part 3, because Part 3 had an alternate ending, and then they decided to go with this other ending. And then I had an original ending planned, and then we had to go with an alternate ending. So in Part 3 it is, Jason, she's dreaming, she wakes up, she goes back to the cabin, she thinks she hears Rick, she knocks on the door, it's Brooker opens the door and cuts her head off, and she wakes up and then maybe gets put in a police car and taken away. And then instead you get the Miss Voorhees reenactment, which, how did she throw her head back on as a zombie? I don't know.
It's a magic trick.
That is Copperfield-tastic, which I work with that. I work with Copperfield too, so that's fun stuff. You could take a lesson from her on that one.
I'll teach her woodworking, and they can teach me.
Right.
So
sleight of hand.
Absolutely. It's all magic tricks.
So yeah, it was, and it kind of at the end of the documentary, it was kind of just goofing fun. What if things ended differently, and Jason shows up and takes care of the trespassers.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of just an addendum, because what we were gonna do at the end of the interviews was segue into the original ending and use the photography filmed shown from the scene and recreate an animation of that sequence how it would have originally been at the end of part 3, without the Mrs. Voorhees thing from part 1 doing over again.
Yeah. But I like that though. It worked for me. I don't care.
Yeah,
like
it's fun. I mean, it's nostalgia, right?
Right.
It's nostalgia.
Right.
But yeah, we were gonna create that sequence how you would have originally seen it at the end of part 3 if they had stuck with the original ending. Mm-hmm. But interviewing people and talking about that, nobody had really anything to add about that particular sequence because it was probably the crew and Dana Kimmel and Richard and Steve Miner, the director, and Dana wasn't on the project and Richard's gone and Steve doesn't do interviews. So we had no input for that to segue into the animation for that. So we went ahead and did, okay, well, what if things would have turned out differently? And Jason shows up and takes care of the trespassers that didn't get punished anyway, which I think some Friday fans might appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And then we did a closing for the credit sequence thing because I just wanted to interject my own personal feelings on how cool would it be to see Jason in the wintertime. Like, they've addressed him in the summer and the camp and woods and everything. They've taken him to space. They've taken him to hell. What about
taking him in places that he really shouldn't be? But we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah. What about the off season? You guys you're reaching for.
But how funny is it? You took him in the snow a few years ago, and he worked on Never Hike in the Snow. How ironic is that?
Little irony there. It's a little snow and colder than a witch's titty. Like the last 2 days driving here across country. Oh my God, what the hell?
Right.
But 77 degrees yesterday, and now what? 30?
31. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was Jason in the snow for the end of the dock. Worked on Never Hike in the Snow, and I'm paying for it big time. Moving across the fucking country the last. Can I say that word?
Yeah. Say whatever you want.
Yeah, the last 2 days in like 20-degree weather and freezing my Jeep, freezing my ass off.
When he pulled up in front of my compound earlier, I'm like, you look like a fucking bagman. His fucking hair's like all going every fucking which way. He has like a hobo jacket on from like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Just looking like a fucking hot mess. But look at him now. You would not have known that just... 6 hours ago, he looked like a fucking bum.
Yeah, the jacket's right here. Look, the jacket looks revived just sitting here.
It does, absolutely. So
it's in forest green.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. So so we just thought we'd talk a little bit about Friday shit, maybe some other shit, just whatever. I mean, the first live, if you will, for the YouTube channel, and it worked out perfect. So hey, I appreciate you, my friend. Also, Friday the 13th Part 3 Memoriam documentary shirts are available at slasher.graphics. No money being made in his pocket. It's going straight to the Blairstown Museum. Same with the Camp Blood Radio shirts. Go out and buy a fucking show shirt, slasher.graphics. We don't see any of the money. I mean, they're only priced at $13 anyway. Where the fuck are you going to buy a $13 t-shirt at?
Lucky number.
Lucky number 13. So... all of that goes to the Blairstown Museum. Shout out to Jeanette Ayurado, who's just doing a phenomenal job with the Blairstown Museum, the Friday the 13th museum/exhibit, which I'm sure you've seen on social media, obviously, because your little bit of proceeds are being donated directly, so you've obviously seen what she's doing over there. She's always posting updates and pictures, and she's just doing a wonderful job, so we appreciate that. Comments, suggestions, concerns, or if you just want to tell us to fuck off, send us a message on Facebook or Instagram at Camp Blood Radio, and thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Hey, and I appreciate you too, bro. Hey. Not just a great radio host, spokesman, quite the wood craftsman right here.
Well, I have a lot of experience with the wood. If you know, inadequate wood. I didn't say that it was big wood. It's inadequate.
Well, you got to use it for something. I mean, you're making the.
Exactly. I mean, that's why I make the signs this size, because I'm very experienced with inadequate wood.
Well, that's good lettering too. That's a personal touch.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
like a a wienering size right there. That's why they're 1-inch letters. Or, I don't know, inch and a half maybe? Inch and a half, I don't know.
That's quarter inch.
So, yeah. Either way.
An exaggerator, this guy. Yeah.
It is what it is. So, we appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in.